Check out the Green Rush podcast over at greenrushpodcast.net for a weekly check-in on some of the most interesting people in the legal marijuana industry doing some of the most interesting work in the legal marijuana industry. That's greenrushpodcast.net. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Curaleaf, one of the nation's fastest growing multi-state cannabis operators, with 43 local dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 11 processing facilities serving more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Learn more about Curaleaf over at curaleaf.com, with Curaleaf spelled C-U-R-A-L-E-A-F. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, April 4th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 698 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day off down in Florida, where a really bad idea to limit the potency of medical cannabis has been turned into a piece of proposed legislation that yesterday was voted through by the House Health and Human Services Committee. Their proposed bill would enact a limit of 10% THC for medical cannabis sold in the state, and is a direct result of a lawmaker who does not know what he is talking about, because that's a very bad and stupid idea. Republican Committee Chair Representative Ray Rodriguez cited some bunk science when he said that higher THC cannabis causes psychosis in some users. That is false. Republican Representative Cindy Stevenson said that high THC marijuana causes people to be violent, which is about as dumb as it gets. Patient advocates and industry reps gave testimony on the many, many reasons why capping marijuana at 10% THC is a bad idea, but at the end of the session, a party line vote came down in approval of the bill, with Republicans voting in favor of the regressive measure. Yesterday, 3 presidents of Federal Reserve banks called for the federal government to provide clarity over how banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions can work with state legal marijuana businesses. The 3 Fed presidents, Tom Barkin of the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, Esther George of the Bank of Kansas City, and Raphael Bostic of the Bank of Atlanta, spoke on a panel session at a bankers conference yesterday and agreed that the federal stance on marijuana made it difficult for the banking industry to handle state legal cannabis business. You can swing over to Kyle Yeager's piece on Marijuana Moment for more detail and for videos of the panel session. Our final top story today is the good news out of Georgia that the state's General Assembly has voted in favor of a bill to set up a system for medical marijuana sales. The bill passed out of the House by a count of 147 to 16 and the Senate at 34 to 20, and will be signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp, who helped orchestrate a last-minute deal that helped bring the bill to a favorable vote. House Bill 324 will allow 6 licensed companies and 2 universities to grow medical cannabis that will be turned into processed oil for sale to registered patients through pharmacies. There are a lot of things that need to happen once the bill is signed into law to get to the point where patients can actually purchase medical cannabis in the state, but this bill is a great start. Another one you should probably read in full to get familiar with the storyline. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's fastest growing multi-state cannabis operators, with 43 local dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 11 processing facilities serving more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Curaleaf is also now traded as a public stock up on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CURA, or C-U-R-A. Open up curaleaf.com today if you have not yet already, and familiarize yourself with the company that you're going to hear a lot about in the future. And while you're over at curaleaf.com, you can learn more about their Curaleaf medical marijuana line, Curaleaf hemp, and Yuku craft cannabis, as well as find the closest Curaleaf shop to you, because there's no better way to experience the Curaleaf difference than by popping in for a visit yourself. One more time, that's curaleaf.com. All right, time for the blitz. Bouncing back down to Florida, yesterday a judge in the state's First District Court of Appeals overturned a ruling from a case last year involving a medical marijuana patient seeking the right to grow his own medicine at home. The ruling against patient Joe Redner means that he will not be able to grow medical cannabis at home to treat symptoms of lung cancer. Mr. Redner prefers to consume his cannabis in juiced form, which requires a large amount of raw flower to create, something that's not readily available at any of the state's medical dispensaries. There's a lot of depth on this one, so maybe not a bad one to read in full. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Leafly is another part up in their ongoing series looking into the booming Oklahoma medical marijuana industry, which we've covered lots here on The Daily. The latest version looks at a provision in the so-called Unity Bill passed last month, setting up the state's medical marijuana program that specifically carves out space for people to be both registered medical marijuana patients and gun owners. The bill doesn't do anything about federal restrictions on gun ownership and marijuana use, but as Dave Howard's piece in Leafly points out, there is no check at the federal level for medical marijuana registration when evaluating gun permit applications. Randy Johnson over at Mary Jane picked up on a story that wonderfully highlights one of the major benefits of a legal cannabis program, namely that the products you buy from a legal marijuana store or delivery service don't spend any time being smuggled in someone's bum. Yes, that's a real headline, as a study of hash sold in the city of Madrid, Spain, showed that 75% of samples were contaminated with the bacteria E. coli, likely from being transported via drug smugglers' stomachs contained in plastic balloons. As anyone who eats knows, there's only one easy way out for things that go into your mouth to get out, so I'll let your imagination take it from there. Gross. Don't feel the need to open this one up for a full dive in at all. The Globe and Mail is an interesting piece up that is worthy of a full dive in, with a look at a court case in Canada decided in February involving a family suing their insurance company to cover the damages from a fire in a building that was also being used to grow cannabis. The insurance company maintains that the presence of the growing cannabis, even though it's legal to do so in Canada, voids the coverage of the policy, a position that was backed up by the British Columbia Superior Court judge's ruling. During proceedings in the case, an insurance underwriting expert testified that having any growing marijuana in a building would give insurance companies the grounds to deny claims, so this might be something you want to look into. Denver, Colorado Mayor Michael Hancock recently sent a letter to U.S. Attorney General William Barr to protest the federal treatment of a Denver resident who was denied his application for U.S. citizenship simply because he worked in the state legal cannabis industry. President Donald Trump's administration has never turned down an opportunity to be cruel to immigrants, and this is just a small slice of its overall policy to be as terrible as it can be. Give this one a read. And a reminder that I like to drop whenever relevant: if you are a Trump supporter yourself, please know that I think you are a traitor and or a fool, so probably best not to listen to my podcast. And don't email me about how that just hurt your feelings. Suck it up, Buttercup. We've touched on this storyline lots in recent days and weeks, as a projected cliff in the number of licensed cannabis cultivators in California is set to go off as licenses from last year expire before the state can process renewals. There was a policy change announced last week that will give license holders the ability to ride things out with provisional licenses, but as David's story nicely details, there will still be thousands of cultivators left behind and shut out of the legal industry. In a big state, this is a huge story, so I'd add this one to your must-read list today. And finally for today, our buddy Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moments picked up on the news that the U.S. territory of Guam has fully legalized adult use cannabis, as Guam Governor Lou Leon Guerrero signed into law a bill that was recently passed out of the territory Senate. The bill will set up a taxed and regulated sales scheme and will hopefully act as a nice tourist draw for the far-flung territory, which is about 6,000 miles off the coast of California. If you can handle the 15 or 16 hours of travel time, you'll find a heck of a beautiful island and now legal marijuana. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Cureleaf, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.